I just got back from AMFest, right? America Fest, thrown by Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's organization. And I've gone for the last, I believe, 3 years now. I get invited to go as like a special guest because I'm an influencer, all that fun stuff. But this year was obviously different, right? Not only is Charlie Kirk no longer here, but this is the first year where you don't necessarily have a cohesive group, a large coalition of people that all support each other. You have a whole bunch of different factions that all support different people that are speaking, that all support different movements, that all support different potential presidential candidates, right? And so it's no exaggeration when you're seeing all over the media, like, oh, right-wing infighting explodes at AMFest. That's correct. There was a lot of right-wing infighting. And it was especially apparent when different speakers would get up there to speak. For example, on the first day, we had Ben Shapiro speak, followed by Russell Brand, followed by Michael Knowles, and then I believe followed immediately after that by Tucker Carlson. Now, clearly, Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson don't really have the same idea for the direction this country should go. They don't. That's just the truth. And it was very evident. It was very, very, very clear. Now, it was kind of interesting that, in between them was Russell Brand, who made a joke about how it's funny that he was coming in between Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson. And he was Russell Brand did a very good job of just saying how we need to love each other, how we need to love God, and how we need to be better people in a better country. I loved his presentation. But when Ben Shapiro got up there, people booed and a ton of people cheered. He would say stuff against Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes. Some people would boo. A lot of people would cheer. And then Tucker Carlson gets up there and, you have people booing, you have people cheering just like Ben Shapiro. It's crazy. I've never been to an AMFest where half of the audience boos and half the audience cheers. The infighting is real. It is very real. And I think it's just going to continue to grow. I have a friend that said, another influencer, and he said, I hope that we use this AMFest as like a reset. That after this, we all realize we need to come together and work to defeat the left. And I said, hell no. There's not a single chance that that's happening. Someone is going to get up there and they're going to criticize another person. Because look, these people, influencers in general, famous people in general, but especially people that are engaged in politics, they love starting drama. They love talking shit. They love bashing other people. So of course, you're going to have them bashing one another. You are going to have them going against each other, criticizing each other, and fighting for power, fighting for influence, fighting to be the one who has the ideals that come out on top. So I told him, nah, bro, this is not going to be the great reset that you're hoping for. This is just going to exacerbate the divide. This is going to make us hate each other even more. So, I'd be sitting there with some of my buddies and someone would come on stage and some would cheer, some would boo. Ben Shapiro would say something that I vehemently disagree with, and half my friends would cheer, half of them would sit there in silence. Look, the infighting is real. And if anything, I've heard people say that it's getting blown out of proportion. No, it's not. It's not getting blown out of proportion. If anything, it's being under-exaggerated. So, that being said, I want to take a second to see what CNN was saying about this. Because, look, this is going to have an enormous impact on not only the midterms, but the next presidential election, okay? This is a big deal, a huge deal. So I want to get the perspectives of what people like CNN are saying. I'm going to make another video too where I go over Tucker Carlson's entire speech or react to it because I was unable to watch it there because I got stuck in a conversation. But let's check this out. This video is called MAGA Infighting Takes Center Stage at Turning Point Conference. It's a video by CNN, so I'm actually very curious to see what their thoughts are on all of this. Let's see.
Thousands of MAGA faithful turned out over the weekend for Turning Point USA's annual America Fest Summit. And it may indeed have been a turning point for the MAGA movement.
Ooh, clever CNN.
Because while they are united in their loyalty to President Trump, different factions of the coalition were fighting for influence.
Also, that's not even true. The party is not united in their loyalty for President Trump. Not even a little bit right now. It's more divided for its loyalty for Donald Trump since it's the most divided it's been since he was running for president the first time in 2015. Hell, there is a huge divide on the right in terms of their support for Donald Trump. You have the Nick Fuentes crew who does not really support Donald Trump. You have the libertarians who don't really support Donald Trump. You have the moderates that don't really support Donald Trump. You see, obviously Trump still has his floor of 30% or whatever, but those are, the MAGA loyalists that will always receive or that will always give their love to him. But it's just not true at all that there is a unified force on the right for their support for Donald Trump. Not true at all.
Amid a brewing fight on the right over how to handle anti-Semites and conspiracy theorists who consider themselves part of the movement. Vice President Vance tried to bridge those divides in his speech without explicitly condemning anyone on the right.
President Trump did not build the greatest coalition in politics by running his supporters through endless, self-defeating purity tests. I didn't bring a list of conservatives to denounce or to deplatform. I know some of you are discouraged by the infighting over any number of issues. Don't be discouraged. Wouldn't you rather lead a movement of free thinkers who sometimes disagree than a bunch of drones who take their orders from George Soros?
Well, Vance.
See now, what he said is interesting because while I agree with what he said, it's incredibly interesting because he is the vice president under Donald Trump, and who condemns free thinkers, people that step out of line more than him? Nobody. Donald Trump tears you apart, ruins your careers, completely will have you primaried if you step out of line and disagree with him. So while it's cool and all for JD Vance to get up there and pander to an audience and say, isn't it great that we have all of these free thinkers? The truth is he is the vice president under a president who does not allow freedom of thought even a little bit. Not only does Donald Trump just bash the left, obviously, who disagree with him, but he bashes everyone in his party that disagrees with him over anything, against what he's doing with ICE, against what he's doing with sending the National Guard in to cities, against the wishes of mayors and governors, what he's doing with the Epstein files, what he's doing in regards to Venezuela, what he's doing in regards to Israel and Gaza. If you step out of line on any of those issues, if you make your voice heard on any of those issues and it does not line up with what Donald Trump wants, you think that Donald Trump supports your freedom of thought? No. It doesn't matter if you're a congressperson, a comedian, doesn't matter. He will come after you because he does not like it if you do not agree with him 100% of the time. So while it's all good and dandy that JD Vance says that, it's also a load of shit.
Did not take a side. Two other loud voices in the conservative movement did.
The conservative movement is also in danger from charlatans who claim to speak in the name of principle, but actually traffic in conspiracism and dishonesty.
If you believe that Hitler was pretty cool, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement. If you call Usha Vance, the second lady of the United States of America, a cheat, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement.
I will say this. Nick Fuentes says a lot of things that I agree with. A lot of things. Honestly, he's opened my mind to a lot of things I never really saw before. But his whole thing where he's like, Hitler was objectively cool, that's lame. His whole thing where he calls JD Vance's wife a, whatever derogatory term you want for her, that's not cool either. So I agree with Vivek there. Like, bro, do you have to be so intentionally cruel, so intentionally unsympathetic to anything or anyone? Do you know how many more people... Okay, actually, I don't know this because the internet kind of rewards people that are assholes and that say insane things that offend a lot of people. So maybe he wouldn't reach as many people, but I think that he would be able to reach a lot more rational people if he tamed back that type of language just a little bit. Just a little bit. You can say Hitler was super fascinating, was super intelligent, was a great leader, was a commendable leader, whatever you want to say, but saying that he was cool, no, that's overgeneralizing, I think, a bit, and not really, cool is not really what he was. He wasn't cool when he was a piece of shit, okay? Pieces of shit are not cool, just saying.
And if you can't say those things without stuttering, then you have no place as a leader.
I'm joined now by a terrific group of reporters. Good to see you all on this Monday afternoon. It is Monday, right? It is Monday. Yes, it is. Okay, just confirming that. Jeff, you've been covering this conference has been playing out. Really, this fascinating debate that's been going on publicly. What do you make of the way that JD Vance, as he came in here in this speech to this audience, didn't say what Vivek Ramaswamy said, didn't say what others on the right have said, like Ben Shapiro, very much made it clear that he was not going to condemn any of these factions within his party. What does it say about the way he's positioning himself as he heads into a potential 2028 run?
He's treading very carefully.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, JD Vance needs the support of all the different factions to win. Okay, he does. And he does not have the support right now at all. Look, as a libertarian, I don't really support him. I don't. He's funded by the freaking co-founder of Palantir, who probably wants a lot more conflict in the United States and around the world for profit. I don't know how JD Vance would be any different from any other freaking neocon leader. I don't. And I know Nick Fuentes' little faction doesn't support JD Vance. So, how are you going to win the presidential election when half the freaking Republican Party, the right, dislike you, do not trust you? You're not. So, of course, JD Vance isn't going to just come out here and start condemning half of his party.
Intentionally, really struck there listening to Vivek Ramaswamy defending Usha Vance much more than Vice President Vance did in his own speech. Now, Vice President Vance has defended his wife and spoken out in some smaller forums and some interviews, but not on stage there. So
yeah,
I
was in a
thought that was
podcast he did that.
Oh my God, is that how him and Erica greeted each other? They gave each other a high five and a one-armed hug. You know that was intentional too, because of all the shit they've been getting for their long, intense hugs. Yeah, that was intentional. That's actually kind of funny. That's kind of funny that they went all the way from like super long, intense, drawn out hugs to high five.
Exactly, on Friday in a podcast that, did not have that attention. But look, I mean, what we're seeing here is Vice President Vance making a concerted decision to try and appeal to everyone, appeal to the entire gamut of the Trump movement, if you will, but not really taking a stand. And I think this conference ended in such a way. It was supposed to be J.D. Vance's sort of moment. Erica Kirk announced her endorsement for him in 2028. Never mind.
If you're trying to make this his big moment, then why would you bring out Nicki Minaj on like the same day? Which is obviously a bigger deal because it's unexpected. Weird.
He's not even said he's running. Of course, he's likely to do so. But I'm not sure how strong he ended up being at the end by trying to, throw out a George Soros line, et cetera. He didn't really take a stand. And I think that it showed the fissures inside the Republican Party. The Democrats have some of their own, but now we're talking about Republicans. They are significant from foreign policy to anti-Semitism, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see this post-Trump era. Maybe the only one who can sort of lift up J.D. Vance is Trump himself, and we'll see if he does it.
What do you make of that?
Well, also not really, because right now Trump is not super popular even within his own party. So I don't think Trump can come and save J.D. Vance. Look, I'm being so real with you. Every single moderate I know that came over to vote for Donald Trump in the last presidential election cycle, does not support him anymore. They don't. The people that were always supportive of him, the people that are extremely far into the whole MAGA cult, of course they're going to support it. But every single moderate, every single one, every single moderate, every single Democrat, every single liberal, every single libertarian that came over to support Donald Trump last presidential election no longer supports him. Okay, now I don't know if that means that they'll go out and vote against him, but they do not support him. So saying simply that President Trump coming out in support of J.D. Vance can save J.D. Vance is bullshit. That's not true at all. J.D. Vance is going to need to do something completely different. He's not just going to be able to say, hey, look, I'm the second coming of Donald Trump. Because first of all, you're not, in terms of your personality, your demeanor, your strengths, whatever. You're not. You're nothing like Donald Trump. Second of all, Donald Trump's not even that popular anymore within the Republican Party. So you need to do something different. J.D. Vance, if he wants to win, and Donald Trump maintains this same level of unpopularity, J.D. Vance needs to do something completely different to win the vote. Because I'm going to be honest with you, if he just comes out and says, look, guys, I'm going to do exactly what Trump is doing, I'm not voting for him. I'm not. Point blank. I'm sorry, I'm not. That's just that.
He's saying this is a Big Ten party. There's not room for any purity tests, unlike trying to distinguish himself very much from some of those other voices we heard.
Yeah, I think if you went to that speech looking for a leader to say, this is right and this is wrong, you're going to leave that speech very disappointed, because that's exactly what he did not say. I actually don't think that it's in conflict with what we've seen from J.D. Vance over the course of the 11 months. Given multiple opportunities from the racist Republican group chat where he said that those young men were young men instead of some of those being 40 years old. In other instances, he has
So
basically
true.
declined to condemn various positions in which other members of their party have said, yes, that's not appropriate.
Oh my God, this is so typical. They're like, why are they acting like no one's ever done this before? The freaking left does this all the time. They don't condemn Ilhan Omar when she says outrageously anti-Semitic things. They don't condemn crazy people that come out in support of freaking communism. Why do they expect J.D. Vance to come out and condemn half of his party? Because he's not going to, just like Democrats won't do with their own party. Boom, big freaking shocker.
And so I think that you're seeing him in real time trying to expand what Trump built. Obviously, we know that there has been some contraction due to, these kind of lower poll numbers with Hispanic voters, folks feeling put off by the immigration policies, folks feeling put off by the economic policies. So he's trying to just hold the coalition that they built in 2024 and also expand it. And that is by not condemning people in places that traditionally Republicans would condemn.
We'll just listen a little bit more from his speech on Sunday, talking about how he says this is a Christian nation.
In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore. The only thing that is truly served as an anchor of the United States of America is that we have been And by the grace of God, we always will be a Christian nation. Christianity is America's creed.
Very much leaning into that message.
Yeah, and if you look at this speech, we talked about how he's kind of trying to be Switzerland when it comes to this internal dispute in the Republican Party, and kind of, I would argue, trying to have it both ways. But there was a lot in this speech that was speaking directly to the more kind of right-wing.
By the way, it is true that we are the United States. We are our entire existence. Everything that we believe, everything that we have done in our past comes out of our morals and values that stem from Christianity. It's true. Now, does that mean necessarily that we can't be a religious pluralist society? No, it doesn't mean that. But we have to understand that Christianity is a core, a fundamental part of America. It is. And you have to accept that. We all do. Okay? Even the people that aren't super religious, you have to understand that Christianity is the bedrock of our country. There's so much that we accept here in the United States that we just think of as just like something that we don't even have to think about. It's just something that we just like understand as being a part of America and of our morals and of our values, and it stems from Christianity.
Portions of the party, he was talking about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, talking about, calling her basically a fake street girl. He talked about Minneapolis. He called it Mogadishu. They were kind of like these little dog whistles that were meant to speak to that kind of far right portion of the party to keep them in line with him that I think didn't penetrate as much, but are also significant from this speech. He very much, and this comes through in the comments that Jasmine was talking about as well, he very much wants to keep that section of the party in line and behind him moving forward. He doesn't want to do anything to sacrifice that.
And just the tightrope, look at some of the headlines that came out of this speech. J.D. Vance walking a tightrope on the raging Israel debate within MAGA infighting over Israel in 2028 heats up at the conference. And then
let's see what some of these say. J.D. Vance is walking a MAGA infighting over Israel and 2028 heats up at the Turning Point USA conference. MAGA battles over free speech. Interesting headlines.
Battles over free speech. Jeff, can he continue to walk this tightrope? Vice President.
I think that'll be very difficult once he launches into a campaign of his own. He probably can as vice president because the reality is President Trump overshadows everything. I mean, this is still very much his party. But
is he running? If he runs, is he running for a third Trump term here, or is this some way? How does he distinguish himself, or does he decide to even distinguish himself?
I mean, that'll be a choice he has to make. I mean, history is not filled with many examples of how a third term works. The idea of him trying to define his own path is probably something he'll have to do. But look, I mean, we don't know several things to answer that question. One, are Republicans going to lose control of the midterms next year? If they do.
Yeah, Republicans are. There is so much energy behind the left right now. So much energy. Trump has made sure to piss them off as much as possible. So they have plenty to run on, and the Republicans don't have shit. They haven't done anything about affordability. And that's the main thing that people care about right now. They're busy fighting with each other, with themselves. So how are they, while they're all fighting, while there's like an internal civil war happening on the right, how are they going to go against the left that has all this momentum and energy behind them? They're not. The left is going to slaughter the right come midterms next year. Point blank. And if you don't believe so, then you're crazy. You're being intentionally ignorant about the situation.
The control of Congress, if they do, he will certainly have to chart his own course here. But what I'm wondering, Vivek Ramaswamy, if he wins as governor of Ohio, does he emerge as a leader, as someone who challenges J.D. Vance? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard to see it perhaps right now, but someone will challenge Vice President Vance. There's no way, in my view, that he will have a wide open shot to this nomination. I mean, you see our recent polling that shows only 22% of people right now want J.D. Vance to be the nominee.
Well, there you go.
64% say no one specific.
Which I don't think it's a huge.
Do you think that someone like Thomas Massie or Marjorie Taylor Greene, someone from like that part of Congress, will run? I think that'd be interesting to see. Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, maybe even someone like Rand Paul. I could see that happening. And I could see them actually drawing a lot of support, especially someone like Thomas Massie right now. Yeah, I think that'd be super interesting. And I think that one of them will run. I'm not saying just one of those three, but I think I think one of those three will run. Yeah, I believe it.
Not going to advance. I mean, I think that's sort of normal, but it just shows you that he may be the heir apparent, but that doesn't guarantee his nomination.
Yeah, no question about it. I want to listen to some more voices from this conference from over the weekend.
Not only am I not an anti-Semite, and would say so if I was, to hurt white men because they are white men. That is racism that is precisely as bad as anti-Semitism, but it is much more widespread and has been so far much more damaging.
Ben Shapiro is like a cancer, and that cancer spreads.
I keep hearing diversity is our strength, but I'm not so sure. The young white men who for a generation were left behind by DEI. Don Jr. saying diversity.
I did not see all those speeches, especially like the Steve Bannon one. Yeah, look, guys, the right is cooked right now. The right is so cooked, and I don't see how they come together. Because these aren't just like, oh, I have a slightly different opinion on how we should approach our economic policies. These are legitimately people thinking that other factions of the party are destroying the country, maybe even more so than the left is. So these people aren't going to come together. Tucker Carlson's faction is not going to come together underneath the Ben Shapiro faction. Yeah, the right is cooked. Do you agree? Like, how do they come together under this situation, these circumstances? And there's a lot of like individual pettiness involved too. A lot of ego, right? Yeah, the right is cooked. The right is so cooked that I bet a ton of people, if JD Vance is the nominee, I bet a ton of people simply just do not vote. A ton of people on the right just will not vote. Where do you stand on all this, by the way? Are there certain people that you do support that you don't support anymore? People that you used to really support that now you don't? I'll be honest with you, Ben Shapiro was like the main podcast I listened to for years and years and years. And now I have trouble listening to him. I still think he makes a lot of great points. I still really respect him, but I just don't necessarily agree with as much as I used to, especially when it comes to foreign freaking policy, especially when it comes to his ideas of how we should just deplatform people or not give people the ability to speak and debate and argue for their points. So there's one. Do you have someone like that? I've always loved Tucker Carlson, and I still love Tucker Carlson. I don't necessarily love everything he's done. Like, for example, I didn't like his Nick Fuentes interview. I thought it was weird how he didn't push back on anything, but I still love Tucker Carlson and his openness to everything. The way that he still questions the mainstream, the general narrative. So yeah, do you have anyone that you really used to support or listen to or admire that you no longer do? Or anyone now that you really do support, admire, and listen to that you didn't in the past? I'm just interested. Let me know.
I keep hearing diversity is our strength, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, for a party that likes to talk about how DEI and talking about diversity is in our strength, they do talk a lot about race. But of course, it is about the white race.
God, both parties do this. They're so obsessed with identity. Both parties. Like, shut up. Shut up. It's annoying. Okay? We all of us see nothing but race anymore because you guys keep on talking about it. It's in every TV show. It's in every political rant. It's in everything, every movie. I can't escape it. It's annoying. It's very annoying. And it's unhealthy on both sides. Okay? Republicans, the right, want to make white people feel like they're the victims, and the left wants to make everyone else feel like they're the victims. Why do we want everyone to feel like a victim? Oh, yeah, that's right. Because if they feel like a victim, if they feel powerless, then they put their trust in you. They want you to get more power. They'll do anything to make sure you get elected so you can stand up for them. Because I'm the little guy. Every single person thinks that they are the little guy or the little woman. Are you not sick of hearing about race, identity, 24/7? Everyone is oppressed. I'm so over it.
I think fundamentally this is a portion of conversation that they felt was really helpful for them in 2024 when we're talking about that young male voter who feels like they've been left behind, like the conversation doesn't surround them, that they're, sometimes lonely, as experts would say. And so they're going to continue this messaging because it is popular with the base. All of the things that are creating these fissures within the Republican Party, when we're talking about foreign payments, Israel, anti-Semitism, going back to this anti-DEI, anti-woke, is just a string of conversation that consistently really combines that, kind of at this point, diverging group of people. And so I think you're going to consistently see them harp on this because it works for them.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to continue working for them. And I don't think it's working for them nearly as much as it used to. Think about this last election cycle. Republicans got crushed everywhere. And a lot of the Republicans that lost tried to run on this whole anti-woke thing. Transgenderism and black people are committing a lot of crimes. White people are victimized. And it was like, people are just kind of over it. The left has figured out a better way to navigate that conversation when it gets brought up in debate and whatnot and in attacks. And a lot of the right's audience is just kind of done with it now. It's like, okay, we elected a president who was supposed to get rid of all the woke stuff. Great. Like, stop. Cool. Woke is dead. Sick. And I don't think that message is going to play anymore. I don't think people give a shit on either side. I'm just being honest with you. I think the only people that still really, truly care about that are the people that are just way too dialed into rage baiting influencers or Fox News. To be honest with you, anyone that touches any amount of freaking grass out there on either side is sick of the woke conversation. Like, address the real freaking points that we care about. Why can't I afford a cheeseburger? Huh? That's something I care about right now. You make me able to afford a cheeseburger, you'll have my vote. Well, if you combine that with maybe getting us out of foreign conflict, then you'll have my vote. Yeah. Like, I just want someone that actually cares about us in office. My God. Someone that doesn't need to grow this disgusting division to get elected. Everyone freaking does that now. What happened to like good men and women that wanted, I guess that's what it is. They don't want power. Yeah. Now all of our politicians are just people that want power and want money. And then we're so shocked when they're not like actually looking out for us. The point is Republicans are going to get freaking crushed if they run on the whole woke thing again. That's the truth.
Works for them, and it's something that they want to talk about, and it's something that brings their folks together.
All right, well, that's the end of that video. Look, point is, the infighting is crazy. It's, if anything, it is being under-exaggerated. These people within the Republican Party, within the right, hate each other now. Their factions are starting to hate each other. The influencers are starting to hate each other, okay? All the influencers were arguing. All of the people on stage were bashing one another. People weren't hanging out and talking the way that they used to. The Republican Party is cooked right now. They don't have anything to run on. They hate each other. The left is running on affordability, the affordability crisis, and they're doing a very good job at actually addressing those pains. Yeah, obviously they're kind of pitching socialism, which is a terrible idea, but their messaging is on point. While the right's messaging, cooked as it could possibly be. No one gives a shit about your woke tirades anymore, all right? Right better get it together or else they're screwed. Now look, I'm really happy to tell you that I'm going to start streaming sometime in January of 2026. Super excited for it. It's going to be great because then you can contribute to these conversations. You can chat with me, and then you can actually be in the video, and it's going to make these so much better, and you can add so much value to these conversations. So I really do hope that I see you over there when I start streaming. I'll let you know more information when I figure it out, but I'm thinking it'll be mostly on Twitch and Kick, simply because YouTube live streaming, it's very easy to get your account banned if I say something stupid, which I do quite often. That being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.